Okay, guys. When it comes to challenges, again, I've talked about this so many times. We have challenges in life. We're always being tested. In fact, that's where the word, the root word of testimonial. You can't have a testimonial if you haven't been tested, right? You're going to be tested, and it's the testimonial that says, "I've survived and thrived. I made it through this." And getting through challenges on a daily basis, there's a certain amount of pain, whether that's physical pain, emotional pain, what have you. And we've got these thresholds that sometimes we don't recognize how high this threshold point can go. And I've learned a lot of lessons in my life on both the emotional side and the physical side that when you learn to take that to another level, you break through these struggles, these challenges, and you become much more confident in handling the challenges that are currently on your plate, knowing I can take it. I got a lot more coming. Bring it on, and as well as those challenges that are coming in the future. So let me give you a couple examples and some of the things so you'll have a better understanding of some of my personal experiences. One of the things that I found interesting. I was watching a piece on this, I forget what it was, but bottom line, it was a celebrity person that was trying to be able to do like a Houdini act, which required him to break out of these chains underwater. And one of the events, so obviously there's a lot of things that he had to do, a lot of skill sets that he had to master. One, being a Houdini and breaking out of change, and this took a lot of time, but at the same time, maybe not a lot of pain threshold unless, it wrapped him up or whatever. But when you struggle underwater, now that's a whole nother pain threshold. And for most of us, emotionally, maybe even more so than physically. If any one of you out there have ever been in a situation where you felt you were going to drown emotionally, it's very fearful. And no one would ever want to go that way. It's a scary deal. But I've always kind of enjoyed the practice of seeing how long I can hold my breath. And I'm pretty good at it. And I've learned that there's a point to where you feel like you're going to burst, that you can just try to relax and realize my body has enough oxygen. It's my body's response of reacting ahead of time as a survival mechanism to say, breathe now, whereas you're well ahead. It's kind of like when the tank of gas is saying, oh, there's a red mark, oh crap, I need to get gas. Well, the truth of the matter is you probably got another 25, 30 miles before you run out of gas, but it's that, hey, I need to get it done now, and it sets off this spark of, whoa, alert. And so it was interesting watching them hold their breath because they had to do like I think it was a little over 3 minutes that they did that, which is challenging for most people. Most people, if you don't practice it, you're not going to be able to do that. But what would happen when they initially started doing it, he's down with the instructor, and all of a sudden, it just almost like going into shakes trying to hold his breath, and the instructor's trying to keep him peace, and had to get out. And I think the first time that he held his breath, it was maybe a minute 10 or something. Over time, started getting past those barriers, past the barrier, past the pain threshold, and eventually was able to do this full performance underwater, get out of the chains, a little over 3 minutes. Pretty impressive. And that's one thing when you learn to do that, because it is pretty painful in its own way to stay down and not breathe when your body's demanding it. So when it comes to life activities, I find that the emotional stresses and those pain thresholds can often be harder to deal with than the actual physical. And we just have to recognize, no matter what the situation, and again, I know all of you have been in situations you're like, how the hell, I'll never get through this. There's no way I can handle this, whether it was a loss of a loved one or financial ruin or whatever. And lo and behold, yeah, you do. You do get through it because you have no choice as long as you're above the earth instead of underneath the earth. But what I've also found, the more of the pain threshold that we're willing to accept and move through, the bigger the reward and the longer term that reward, the more permanent. Let me give you another situation. I've been suffering with pain in a chronic low back situation. I've had a lot of traumas in my low back, some deterioration, some disc problems, and all these kind of things. And I do pretty good most of the time, but boy, when it acts up, it's pretty debilitating. And the last time it occurred, it was really creating more discomfort when I was in a lying position than standing, which, hey, that's pretty cool. At least I can get up and enjoy my day somewhat. But every time I'd get in my car or lie down to sleep, I wasn't getting any sleep. I was struggling all night long, so I didn't get any sleep, and that beats you up. And I mean, I got to a point of going, God, you know, I'm the last person to ever think surgery might be an option, but I started, God, is an option. And if I thought it could work, I'd probably consider it. And so I ended up, I've done everything. I've done chiropractic, I've done decompression. I did about everything you could, and a little temporary relief, but nothing was holding on. I did cryo, you name it. And a friend of mine that actually ran a decompression center, he's a doctor, colleague friend of mine, he went up near here, Austin, and met this fella that was using a piece of equipment called an ARP wave, A-R-P wave. It's a direct current that drives this tremendous amount of contraction. Some of you might be familiar with like Russian stem, tremendous amount of contraction that can be quite uncomfortable. And when I mean quite uncomfortable, the first time I went up to Austin, I was already aware that, hey, this isn't going to be fun. But in his case, he was in the same boat. He said after 3 visits, he goes, I was much better. I've had 10 and I haven't had any pain in 3 months now. I'm in. Give it to me. I'd rather deal with the pain temporarily to get through this than this long-term struggle. I don't like long-term struggle. I'd rather give it to me, let me hit the pain, let me get through it and be done with it, than to go, no, that's too scary, I'm not going to do that. Let me just keep dealing with this gnawing thorn. I'm not into that, and I know that you're not either. So I went up there, and the first taste of this I got, there was a couple of athletes, young athletes, much younger than me, in there using it for training purposes. And they would hook this up to whatever areas, thighs, low back, and they're going through motions, and the whole time they're going through this, the words coming out of their mouth would blow you away. I mean, they were screaming. They were like, holy, I mean, they were, and I was like, is that what I'm going to do? And so I go through the testing and so forth, and I get my first treatment, and I was able to handle a certain amount, but I'm telling you, it gets to a point where they crank this up, and the current going into these areas and the amount of discomfort, you have to take your mind to another place. They're sitting there helping you breathe through your nose, and you're going through these movements, and then it's like, okay, you're ready to take more, and you're like, holy crap, take more, okay, and you go through this. And so they delivered, you know, a couple of exercise sessions, and I got done, and I knew that, you know what, I think this is going to work, because I felt relief. And now, obviously, I felt relief getting off the thing, right? But I felt relief. And after 4 visits, I had probably 80% of this stuff gone, and I was actually looking forward to the next visit, meaning I couldn't wait for someone to hook this car battery up to my body again with these, right? But the truth of the matter is, by dealing with that, it was able to shift and break down reflex patterns, neuromuscular, these reflex patterns that my body had set up over time from injuries. And I needed that, enough of that energy to break those patterns, because it really, that's what it had to do with it. It was more of the body's old reflex response causing me to go into spasms that were creating all this pain. It wasn't necessarily all the degeneration, all that. It was these reflex patterns, because I'm not having pain now. I still have the degeneration, I took away the old patterns, and it was uncomfortable to go through it. I'm still got a few more treatments I'm going to go through. I'll probably go through them another 6 or 7. And I'm actually going through one tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to it. Even though I know there's going to be discomfort and pain, I'm going to take that thing as high as I can, because I know, let's get through this, break through this, and I know that I can handle, even though there was a point when I was only able to take this level, I was like, holy crap, the body can't handle any more than that. I can't handle any more than that. Well, I'm up here now. And then I'm up here, and I'm going to go here. And I used to think this was all I could take. No, my body could always take this. I had to allow my mind to be able to accept that, just like holding my breath or anything else. And so I found success because I was willing to allow me to go through more pain than I thought that I could handle. So as you go through your challenges, whatever they are, whether they're in your practice, whether it's the day-to-day stuff you're doing, whether it's in your marriage, whether it's in your physical activities, I don't care. Understand your potential to handle that is much higher than you can imagine, and keep testing yourself, trial yourself, go to the next area and win that game. It will give you a lot more confidence. You will recognize in the future, I got it. I can handle that. Throw it at me. I'm good with that. In fact, a lot of times you get to a point where you look for challenges because it keeps you healthy. It keeps you engaged in life. So have confidence in yourself. Know that your body can survive. You are a survivor. You're a thriver. And in order to do that, we're going to have to accept this. And when we do accept it and know that the strong ones are going to make it, I'm one of those. It's in here. I can handle it. I can get through it. And challenge yourself with that and enjoy the success. Enjoy the life that it gives back to you. Okay? So hope you enjoyed it. And I look forward to hearing some of your stories. So please share.